Yashar, Jasher, chapter 53. And the sons of Yaakov rose up and took Binyamin and the whole of the presents, and they went and came to Mitsrayim, and they stood before Yosեպh. And Yosեպh saw his brother Binyamin with them, and he greeted them, and these men came to Yosеф's house. And Yosեպh commanded the one over his house to give to his brothers to eat, and he did so for them. And at noon Yosեպh sent for the men to come before him with Binyamin, and the men told the one over Yosеф's house concerning the silver that was returned in their sacks. And he said to them, "It will be well with you, fear not." And he brought their brother Shimon to them. And Shimon said to his brothers, "The master of the Mitsrites has acted very kindly to me. He did not keep me bound, as you saw with your eyes. For when you went out from the city, he let me free and dealt kindly with me in his house." And Yehudah took Binyamin by the hand, and they came before Yosեպh, and they bowed down to him to the ground. And the men gave the present to Yosեպh, and they all sat before him. And Yosեպh said to them, "Is it well with you? Is it well with your children? Is it well with your aged father?" And they said, "It is well." And Yehudah took the record which Yaakov had sent and gave it into the hand of Yosեպh. And Yosեպh read the letter and knew his father's writing, and he wanted to weep, and he went into an inner room, and he wept a great weeping. And he went out, and he lifted up his eyes, and saw his brother Binyamin, and he said, "Is this your brother of whom you spoke to me?" And Binyamin approached Yosեպh, and Yosեպh placed his hand on his head, and he said to him, "May Elohim show favor to you, my son." But when Yosեպh saw his brother, the son of his mother, he again wanted to weep, and he entered the chamber, and he wept there. And he washed his face, and went out, and refrained from weeping. And he said, "Prepare food." And Yosեպh had a cup from which he drank, and it was silver, splendidly inlaid with shohim stones and bdellium. And Yosեպh struck the cup in the sight of his brothers while they were sitting to eat with him. And Yosեպh said to the men, "I know by this cup that Reuben the firstborn, Shimon and Levi, and Yehudah, Yissaschar, and Zebulun are children from one mother. Seat yourselves to eat according to your births." And he also placed the others according to their births. And he said, "I know that this, your youngest brother, has no brother, and I, like him, have no brother. He shall therefore sit down to eat with me." And Binyamin went up before Yosեպh and sat on the throne. And the men saw the acts of Yosեպh, and they were astonished at them. And the men ate and drank at that time with Yosեպh. And then he gave presents to them, and Yosեպh gave one gift to Binyamin. And Manasseh and Ephraim saw the acts of their father, and they also gave presents to him. And Asenath gave him one present, and there were 5 presents in the hand of Binyamin. And Yosեպh brought them out wine to drink, but they would not drink. And they said, "From the day on which Yosեպh was lost, we have not drunk wine, nor eaten any delicacies." And Yosեպh swore to them, and he pressed them hard. And they drank plentifully with him on that day. And afterward Yosեպh turned to his brother Binyamin to speak with him, and Binyamin was still sitting on the throne before Yosեպh. And Yosեպh said to him, "Have you brought forth any children?" And he said, "Your servant has 10 sons, and these are their names, Bela, Becher, Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, Ehi, Rosh, Mupim, Chupim, and Ard. And I called their names after my brother whom I have not seen." And he ordered them to bring before him his map of the stars, whereby Yosեպh knew all the times. And Yosեպh said to Binyamin, "I have heard that the Ephraim are acquainted with all wisdom. Do you know anything of this?" And Binyamin said, "Your servant also has knowledge in all the wisdom which my father taught me." And Yosեպh said to Binyamin, "Look now at this instrument, and understand where your brother Yosեպh is in Mitsrayim, who you said went down to Mitsrayim." And Binyamin saw the instrument with the map of the stars of the Shamayim, and he was wise, and looked therein to know where his brother was. And Binyamin divided the whole land of Mitsrayim into 4 divisions, and he found that he who was sitting on the throne before him was his brother Yosեպh. And Binyamin wondered greatly, and when Yosեպh saw that his brother Binyamin was so much astonished, he said to Binyamin, "What have you seen, and why are you astonished?" And Binyamin said to Yoséph, I can see by this that Yosեպh my brother sits here with me upon the throne. And Yosեպh said to him, I am Yosեպh your brother. Do not reveal this matter to your brothers. See, I will send you with them when they go away, and I will command them to be brought back again into the city, and I will take you away from them. And if they risk their lives and fight for you, then I shall know that they have repented of what they did to me, and I will make myself known to them. But if they forsake you when I take you, then you shall remain with me, and I will strive with them, and they shall go away, and I will not become known to them. At that time Yosեպh commanded his officer to fill their sacks with food, and to put each man's silver into his sack, and to put the cup into the sack of Binyamin, and to give them food for the journey, and they did so for them. And on the next day the men rose early in the morning, and they loaded their donkeys with their grain, and they went out with Binyamin, and they went toward the land of Canaan with their brother Binyamin. They had not gone far from Mitsrayim, when Yosեպh commanded him that was appointed over his house, saying, Rise, pursue these men before they get too far from Mitsrayim, and say to them, Why have you stolen my master's cup? And Yosėph's officer rose up, and he reached them, and he spoke to them all the words of Yosեպh. And when they heard this word, they became exceedingly wroth, and they said, He with whom your master's cup shall be found shall die, and we will also become slaves. And they hurried, and each man brought down his sack from his donkey, and they looked in their bags, and the cup was found in Binyamin's bag. And they all tore their garments, and they returned to the city, and they struck Binyamin on the way, continually striking him until he came into the city, and they stood before Yosեպh. And Yehudah's wrath was kindled, and he said, This man has only brought me back to destroy Mitsrayim this day. And the men came to Yosėph's house, and they found Yosեպh sitting on his throne, and all the mighty men standing at his right and left. And Yosեպh said to them, What is this deed that you have done, that you took away my silver cup and went away? But I know that you took my cup in order to know thereby in what part of the land your brother was. And Yehudah said, What shall we say to our master? What shall we speak, and how shall we justify ourselves? Elohim has this day found the iniquity of all your servants. Therefore he has done this matter to us this day. And Yosեպh rose up and caught hold of Binyamin, and took him from his brothers with violence. And he came to the house and locked the door on them. And Yosեպh commanded him that was appointed over his house that he should say to them, Thus said the sovereign, Go in peace to your father. See, I have taken the man in whose hand my cup was found. Yashar, Jasher, chapter 54. And when Yehudah saw the dealings of Yosեպh with them, Yehudah approached him and broke open the door and came with his brothers before Yosեպh. And Yehudah said to Yosեպh, Let it not seem grievous in the sight of my master. May your servants please speak a word before you. And Yosեպh said to him, Speak. And Yehudah spoke before Yosեպh, and his brothers were there standing before them. And Yehudah said to Yosեպh, Indeed, when we first came to our master to buy food, you considered us as spies of the land, and we brought Binyamin before you, and you still mock us this day. Now therefore let the sovereign hear my words, and please send our brother that he may go along with us to our father, lest your being perish this day with all the beings of the inhabitants of Mitsrayim. Do you not know what two of my brothers, Shimon and Levi, did to the city of Shechem and to 7 cities of the Amorites because of our sister Dinah, and also what they would do for the sake of their brother Binyamin? And I, with my strength, who am greater and mightier than both of them, shall come upon you and your land today if you are unwilling to send our brother. Have you not heard what our Elohim who chose us did to Pharaoh because of Sarah our mother, whom he took away from our father, that he smote he and his household with heavy plagues, that even to this day the Mitsrites relate this wonder to each other? So our Elohim will do to you for the sake of Binyamin, whom you have this day taken from his father, and because of the evils this day which you heap over us in your land. For our Elohim will remember his covenant with our father Abraham, and bring evil upon you, because you have grieved the being of our father this day. Now therefore hear my words that I have spoken this day to you, and send our brother that he may go away, lest you and the people of your land die by the sword, for you cannot all prevail over me. And Yosեպh answered Yehudah, saying, Why have you opened your mouth wide, and why do you boast over us, saying, Strength is with you? As Pharaoh lives, if I command all my mighty men to fight against you, indeed you and these your brothers would sink in the mud. And Yahweh said to Yosեպh, Indeed, it is right for you and your people to fear me. As Yahweh lives, if I once draw my sword, I shall not sheathe it again until I have slain all Mitsrayim today, and I will begin with you and finish with Pharaoh your master. And Yosեպh answered and said to him, Indeed, strength does not belong to you alone. I am stronger and mightier than you. Even if you draw your sword, I will put it to your neck and the necks of all your brothers. And Yahweh said to him, Indeed, if I open my mouth against you today, I would swallow you up so that you be destroyed from off the earth and perish this day from your reign. And Yosեպh said, Indeed, if you open your mouth, I have power and might to close your mouth with a stone, so you shall not be able to speak a word. See how many stones are before us. Truly, I can take a stone and force it into your mouth and break your jaws. And Yahweh said, Elohim is witness between us, that we have not desired to fight against you until now. Only give us our brother, and we will go from you. And Yosեպh answered and said, As Pharaoh lives, if all the sovereigns of Canaan came together with you, you should not take him from my hand. Now therefore, go your way to your father, and your brother shall be a slave to me, for he has robbed the sovereign's house. And Yahweh said, What is it to you or to the character of the sovereign? Indeed, the sovereign sends forth from his house throughout the land silver and gold, either in gifts or expenses, and you still speak of your cup which you placed in our brother's bag, and say that he has stolen it from you. Elohim forbid that our brother Binyamin or any of the seed of Abraham should do this matter to steal from you or from anyone else, whether sovereign, prince, or any man. Now therefore cease this accusation, lest the whole earth hear your words, saying, For a little silver the sovereign of Mitsrayim disputed with the men, and he accused them and took their brother for a slave. And Yosեպh answered and said, Take for yourself this cup, and go from me, and leave your brother for a slave, for it is the judgment of a thief to be a slave. And Yahweh said, Why are you not ashamed of your words, to leave our brother, and to take your cup? Indeed, if you gave us your cup, or 1,000 times as much, we would not leave our brother for the silver which is found in the hand of any man, that we will not die over him. And Yosեպh answered, And why, to this day, did you forsake your brother and sell him for 20 pieces of silver? And why then will you not do the same to your brother? And Yahweh said, Yahweh is witness between you and I, that we do not desire your battles. Now therefore give us our brother, and we will go from you without quarreling. And Yosեպh answered and said, If all the sovereigns of the land should assemble, they will not be able to take your brother from my hand. And Yahweh said, What shall we say to our father when he sees that our brother does not come with us, and will grieve over him? And Yosեպh answered and said, This is the word which you shall speak to your father, saying, The rope has gone after the bucket. And Yahweh said, Indeed, you are a sovereign, and why do you speak these words, giving a false judgment? Woe to the sovereign who is like you. And Yosեպh answered and said, There is no false judgment in the word that I spoke for the sake of your brother Yosեպh, for all of you sold him to the Midianites for 20 pieces of silver, and you all denied it to your father, and said to him, An evil beast has devoured him, Yosեպh has been torn to pieces. And Yahweh said, See, the fire of shame burns in my heart. Now I will burn all your land with fire. And Yosեպh answered and said, Indeed, your sister-in-law Tamar, who killed your sons, extinguished the fire of Shechem. And Yahweh said, If I pluck out a single hair from my flesh, I will fill all Mitsrayim with its blood. And Yosեպh answered and said, Such is your custom to do as you did to your brother whom you sold, and you dipped his coat in blood and brought it to your father in order that he might say, An evil beast devoured him, and here is his blood. And when Yehudah heard this word, he was exceedingly wroth, and his wrath burned within him. And there was before him in that place a stone, the weight of which was about 400 shekels. And Yehudah's wrath was kindled, and he took the stone in one hand and threw it to the Shamayim, and caught it with his left hand. And afterward he placed it under his legs, and he sat upon it with all his strength. And the stone was turned into dust from the strength of Yehudah. And Yosեպh saw the deed of Yehudah, and he was very much afraid. But he commanded Menashe his son, and he also did with another stone like the deed of Yehudah. And Yehudah said to his brothers, "Let not any of you say, this man is a Mitsrayim, but by his doing this matter he is of our father's clan." And Yosեպh said, "Not only to you is strength given, for we are also powerful men, and why will you boast over us all?" And Yehudah said to Yosեպh, "Please send our brother, and do not ruin your country this day." And Yosեպh answered and said to them, "Go and tell your father, an evil beast has devoured him, as you said concerning your brother Yosեպh." And Yehudah spoke to his brother Naphtali, and he said to him, "Make haste, go now and number all these streets of Mitsrayim, and come and tell me." And Shimon said to him, "Do not let this matter be a trouble to you. Now I will go to the mountain and take up one large stone from the mountain and direct it at everyone in Mitsrayim and kill all that are in it." And Yosեպh heard all these words that his brothers spoke before him, but they did not know that Yosեպh understood them, for they thought that he did not know to speak Ivri. And Yosեպh was greatly afraid at the words of his brothers, lest they should destroy Mitsrayim, and he commanded his son Menashe, saying, "Go now, make haste, and gather unto me all the inhabitants of Mitsrayim, and all the mighty men together, and let them come to me now on horseback and on foot, and with all kinds of musical instruments." And Menashe went and did so, and Naphtali went after Yehudah had commanded him, for Naphtali was swift of foot as one of the swift stags, and he would go upon the heads of grain, and they would not break under him. And he went and numbered all the streets of Mitsrayim, and found them to be 12. And he came hastily and told Yehudah. And Yehudah said to his brothers, "Hasten and gird every man with his sword upon his loins, and we will pass over Mitsrayim and smite them all, and let not a remnant remain." And Yehudah said, "Look, I will destroy 3 of these streets with my strength, and you shall each destroy 1 street." And when Yehudah was speaking this word, see, the inhabitants of Mitsrayim and all the mighty men came toward them with all kinds of musical instruments and with loud shouting. And their number was 500 cavalry and 10,000 foot soldiers and 400 men who could fight without sword or spear, with only their hands and strength. And all the mighty men came with great turmoil and shouting, and they all surrounded the sons of Ya'aqob and frightened them, and the ground shook at the sound of their shouting. And when the sons of Ya'aqob saw these companies, they were greatly afraid for their lives, and Yosեպh did so in order to frighten the sons of Ya'aqob to become calm. And Yehudah, seeing some of his brothers afraid, said to them, "Why are you afraid while the favor of Elohim is with us?" And when Yehudah saw all the people of Mitsrayim surrounding them at the command of Yosեպh to frighten them, only Yosեպh commanded them, saying, "Do not touch any of them." Then Yehudah hastened and drew his sword and gave out a loud and bitter shout, and he smote with his sword, and he leaped upon the ground, and he still continued to shout against all the people. And when he did this matter, Yahweh caused the fear of Yehudah and his brothers to fall upon the mighty men and all the people that surrounded them. And they all fled at the sound of the shouting, and they were afraid and fell one upon the other. And many of them died as they fell, and they all fled from before Yehudah and his brothers and from before Yosեպh. And while they were fleeing, Yehudah and his brothers pursued them to the house of Pharaoh, and they all escaped. And Yehudah again sat before Yosեպh and roared at him like a lion, and gave a great and mighty shout at him. And the shout was heard at a distance, and all the inhabitants of Sukkot heard it, and all Mitsrayim shook at the sound of the shout, and also the walls of Mitsrayim and of the land of Goshen fell in from the shaking of the earth, and Pharaoh also fell from his throne unto the ground, and also all the pregnant women of Mitsrayim and Goshen miscarried when they heard the noise of the shaking, for they were terribly afraid. And Pharaoh sent word, saying, "What is this matter that has come to pass in the land of Mitsrayim today?" And they came and told him all the matters from beginning to end. And Pharaoh was alarmed, and he wondered, and was greatly afraid. And his fright increased when he heard all these matters. And he sent to Yosեպh, saying, You have brought to me the Ephraim to destroy all Mitsrayim. What will you do with that thieving slave? Send him away and let him go with his brothers, and let us not perish through their evil, even we, you, and all Mitsrayim. And if you do not desire to do this matter, cast off from you all my valuables, and go with them to their land, if you delight in it. For they will destroy my whole country this day, and slay all my people. Even all the women of Mitsrayim have miscarried through their shouts. See what they have done merely by their shouting and speaking. Moreover, if they fight against the sword, they will destroy the land. Now therefore choose that which you desire, whether me or the Ephraim, whether Mitsrayim or the land of the Ephraim. And they came and told Yosեպh all the words of Pharaoh that he had said concerning him. And Yosեպh was greatly afraid at the words of Pharaoh. And Yehudah and his brothers were still standing before Yosեպh, grieved and enraged. And all the sons of Yaakov roared at Yosեպh like the roaring of the sea and its waves. And Yosեպh was greatly afraid for his brothers and because of Pharaoh. And Yosեպh sought a pretense to make himself known to his brothers, lest they should destroy all Mitsrayim. And Yosեպh commanded his son Manasseh. And Manasseh went and approached Yehudah and placed his hand on his shoulder. And the wrath of Yehudah was stilled. And Yehudah said to his brothers, Let not one of you say that this is the act of a Mitzrayite youth, for this is the work of my father's house. And Yosեպh, seeing and knowing that Yehudah's wrath was stilled, approached to speak to Yehudah in the language of mildness. And Yosեպh said to Yehudah, Indeed, you speak truth, and have verified today your words concerning your strength, and may your Elohim who delights in you increase your welfare. But tell me truly, why from among all your brothers do you dispute with me for the sake of the boy, as none of them have spoken one word to me concerning him? And Yehudah answered Yosեպh, saying, Indeed, you must know that I was security for the boy to his father, saying, If I do not bring him to him, I should bear his blame forever. Therefore I have approached you from among all my brothers, for I saw that you were unwilling to allow him to go from you. Now therefore may I find favor in your sight, that you shall send him to go with us, and see, I will remain as a substitute for him, to serve you in whatever you desire. For wherever you shall send me, I will go to serve you with great strength. Send me now to a mighty sovereign who has rebelled against you, and you shall know what I will do to him and to his land. Although he may have cavalry and army, or an exceedingly mighty people, I will slay them all and bring the sovereign's head before you. Do you not know, or have you not heard, that our father Abraham with his servant Eleazar smote all the sovereigns of Elam with their armies in one night? They left not one remaining, and ever since that day our father's strength was given to us for an inheritance, for us and our seed forever. And Yosեպh answered and said, You speak truth, and falsehood is not in your mouth. For it was also told to us that the Ephraim have power, and that Yahweh their Elohim greatly delights in them, and who then can stand before them? However, on this condition I will send your brother, if you will bring before me his brother, the son of his mother, of whom you said that he has gone from you down to Mitsrayim. And it shall come to pass, when you bring his brother to me, I will take him in his place, because not one of you was security for him to your father. And when he shall come to me, I will then send his brother with you, for whom you have been security. And Yehudah's wrath was kindled against Yosեպh when he spoke this word, and his eyes were bloodshot with wrath, and he said to his brothers, How does this man seek his own destruction this day, and that of all Mitsrayim? And Shimon answered Yosեպh, saying, Did we not tell you at first that we did not know the exact spot to which he went, and whether he is dead or alive? And why does my master speak such words? And Yosեպh, observing the appearance of Yehudah, discerned that his wrath began to kindle when he spoke to him, saying, Bring to me your other brother instead of this brother. And Yosեպh said to his brothers, Indeed, you said that your brother was either dead or lost. Now, if I should call him today, and he should come before you, would you give him to me instead of his brother? And Yosեպh began to speak and call out, Yosեպh, Yosեպh, come this day before me and appear to your brothers and sit before them. And when Yosեպh spoke this word before them, they each looked a different way to see from where Yosեպh would come before them. And Yosեպh observed all their deeds and said to them, Why do you look here and there? I am Yosեպh, whom you sold to Mitsrayim. Now therefore let it not grieve you that you sold me, for Elohim sent me as a support during the scarcity of food before you. And his brothers were afraid of him when they heard the words of Yosեպh, and Yehudah was exceedingly afraid of him. And when Binyamin heard the words of Yosեպh, he was before them in the inner part of the house. And Binyamin ran to Yosեպh his brother and embraced him and fell on his neck, and they wept. And when Yoseph's brothers saw that Binyamin had fallen on his brother's neck and wept with him, they also fell on Yosեպh and embraced him, and they wept a great weeping with Yosեպh. And the sound was heard in the house of Yosեպh that they were Yoseph's brothers, and it pleased Pharaoh exceedingly, for he was afraid for them, lest they should destroy Mitsrayim. And Pharaoh sent his servants to Yosեպh to congratulate him concerning his brothers who had come to him, and all the captains of the armies and companies that were in Mitsrayim came to rejoice with Yosեպh, and all Mitsrayim rejoiced greatly regarding Yoseph's brothers. And Pharaoh sent his servants to Yosեպh, saying, Tell your brothers to bring all belonging to them, and let them come to me, and I will place them in the best part of the land of Mitsrayim. And they did so. And Yosեպh commanded him that was placed over his house to bring out to his brothers gifts and garments. And he brought out to them many garments, being robes of royalty and many gifts. And Yosեպh divided them among his brothers. And he gave to each of his brothers a change of garments of gold and silver and 300 pieces of silver. And Yosեպh commanded them all to be dressed in these garments and to be brought before Pharaoh. And Pharaoh, seeing that all Yoseph's brothers were mighty men and of good-looking appearance, he greatly rejoiced. And afterward they went out from the presence of Pharaoh to go to the land of Canaan to their father, and their brother Binyamin was with them. And Yosեպh rose up and gave to them 11 chariots from Pharaoh, and Yosեպh gave to them his chariot upon which he rode on the day of his being crowned in Mitsrayim, to bring his father to Mitsrayim. And Yosեպh sent to all his brothers' children garments according to their numbers, and 100 pieces of silver to each of them. And he also sent garments to the wives of his brothers from the garments of the sovereign's wives, and he sent them. And he gave to each of his brothers 10 men to go with them to the land of Canaan to serve them, to serve their children, and all belonging to them in coming to Mitsrayim. And Yosեպh sent by the hand of his brother Binyamin 10 suits of garments for his 10 sons, a portion above the rest of the children of the sons of Ya'aqob. And he sent to each 50 pieces of silver, and 10 chariots for the sake of Pharaoh. And he sent to his father 10 donkeys loaded with all the best of Mitsrayim, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain and bread and food for his father, and to all that were with him as provisions for the journey. And he sent to his sister Dinah garments of silver and gold, and frankincense and myrrh, and aloes, and women's ornaments in great plenty. And he sent the same from the wives of Pharaoh to the wives of Binyamin. And he gave to all his brothers, also to their wives, all kinds of shohem stones and bdellium, from all the valuables among the great people of Mitsrayim. None of all the costly goods was left but what Yosեպh sent of to his father's household. And he sent his brothers away, and they went, and he sent his brother Binyamin with them. And Yosեպh went out with them to accompany them on the way to the borders of Mitsrayim. And he commanded them concerning his father and his household to come to Mitsrayim. And he said to them, Do not quarrel on the way, for this matter was from Yahweh, to keep a great people from starvation, for there will be yet 5 years of scarcity of food in the land. And he commanded them, saying, When you come to the land of Canaan, do not come suddenly before my father in this matter, but act in your wisdom. And Yosեպh ceased to command them, and he turned and went back to Mitsrayim. And the sons of Yaakov went to the land of Canaan with joy and gladness to their father Yaakov. And they came to the borders of the land, and they said to each other, What shall we do in this matter before our father? For if we come suddenly to him and tell him the matter, he will be greatly alarmed at our words and will not believe us. And they went along until they came near to their houses, and they found Serach, the daughter of Asher, coming out to meet them, and the maiden was very good and clever, and knew how to play on the harp. And they called to her, and she came before them, and she kissed them, and they took her and gave to her a harp, saying, "Go now before our father, and sit before him, and play on the harp, and speak these words." And they commanded her to go to their house, and she took the harp and hurried before them, and she came and sat near Yaakov. And she played well, and sang, and spoke in the sweetness of her words. "Yosեպh, my uncle, is living, and he rules throughout the land of Mitsrayim, and is not dead." And she continued to repeat and speak these words, and Yaakov heard her words, and they were agreeable to him. He listened while she repeated them twice and 3 times, and joy entered the heart of Yaakov at the sweetness of her words, and the Ruach of Elohim was upon him, and he knew all her words to be true. And Yaakov berakah Serach when she spoke these words before him, and he said to her, "My daughter, may death never prevail over you, for you have revived my spirit. Only speak again before me as you have spoken, for you have gladdened me with all your words." And she continued to sing these words, and Yaakov listened, and it pleased him, and he rejoiced, and the Ruach of Elohim was upon him. While he was still speaking with her, see, his sons came to him with horses and chariots and royal garments and servants running before them. And Yaakov rose up to meet them and saw his sons dressed in royal garments, and he saw all the treasures that Yosեպh had sent to them. And they said to him, "Know that our brother Yosեպh is living, and it is he who rules throughout the land of Mitsrayim, and it is he who spoke to us as we told you." And Yaakov heard all the words of his sons, and his heart was moved at their words, for he could not believe them until he saw all that Yosեպh had given them, and what he had sent him, and all these signs which Yosեպh had spoken to them. And they opened out before him and showed him all that Yosեպh had sent. They gave to each what Yosեպh had sent him, and he knew that they had spoken the truth, and he rejoiced exceedingly for the sake of his son. And Yaakov said, "It is enough for me that my son Yosեպh is still living. I will go and see him before I die." And his sons told him all that had befallen them, and Yaakov said, "I will go down to Mitsrayim to see my son and his offspring." And Yaakov rose up and put on the garments which Yosեպh had sent him, and after he had washed and shaved his hair, he put the turban on his head which Yosեպh had sent him. And all the people of Yaakov's house and their wives put on the garments which Yosեպh had sent to them, and they greatly rejoiced at Yosեպh that he was still living, and that he was ruling in Mitsrayim. And all the inhabitants of Canaan heard of this matter, and they came and rejoiced much with Yaakov that he was still living. And Yaakov made a feast for them for 3 days, and all the sovereigns of Canaan and nobles of the land ate and drank and rejoiced in the house of Yaakov.